In this video, I'm going to test out the differences between Mars Black, Ivory Black, and Carbon Black. So we have Mars Black. I have measuring spoons, old ones from my kitchen. Now when you use kitchen utensils, you don't want to use them for food after you use them for paint. This is a 1/4 teaspoon of Mars Black. This is a 1/4 teaspoon of Ivory Black. Finally, we have Carbon Black, and this is golden Carbon Black. I'll measure out a 1/4 teaspoon of it. I have equal portions of each of these 3 different types of blacks, and then I'm going to mix it with equal portions of titanium white. So first up is the Mars Black, and you can see it makes a pretty dark gray. The next one is Ivory Black. So the first thing that you'll notice is that this is much lighter, and that's because Mars Black is a higher tinting strength. Another thing that you'll notice too is it looks warmer. This Mars Black is a little bit cooler. For the third example, I have Carbon Black, and that's Golden's Carbon Black, and we'll see what shade of gray that makes. Now that's kind of surprising because it's even darker than the Mars Black, which most people say has the most tinting strength. So here's the Mars Black mixed with white. Wash out my brush. Ivory Black and Carbon Black. So out of these 3 grays, the Carbon Black is actually the darkest, so it has the highest tinting strength. The weakest tinting strength would be the Ivory Black. It turned out much lighter. Now for the opacity of these 3 black colors, they're all rated as being opaque, but I'm going to test them out over these red lines that I drew on these samples, just to see if we can see any of that red through there. So I'll start with the Mars Black. So full strength seems to cover it. If I take some of the paint off of there, if I go over it a little bit lighter. All right, Ivory Black is next for the transparency test. So if I go full strength with the Ivory Black, it does look a little less, well, I might have water in the brush. Let me try that again. So full strength, that covers pretty well. Now if I wear it off a little bit and go over the last part, it does have a warmer tone than the Mars Black does. I'll test the opacity of Carbon Black for the final test here. This is Carbon Black. That covers over it really easy. If I wear it off the brush, still covers it fairly well. Apply it full strength on here, trying to determine which one's the darkest. And the final one here is Mars Black. I'll have to let those dry so we can really see which one is darker. I've already lightened these 3 black pigments with white. The next test is just to add some water to it. This is Mars Black mixed with water, and I'll put a little wash down on here. Try to lighten up a little bit more at the bottom. Now the next one is Ivory Black, and this is kind of interesting because it does have a warmer look to it, even though when you mix it with white, it has a cooler look. I'll lighten up the bottom here a little bit. Now this does make a warm gray compared to the cooler gray that you can get with the titanium white. And you'll see conflicting information where one person will say that Ivory Black is warm and another person will say that it's cool. I think this might have something to do with it, and another possibility is that manufacturers just have different formulas or different sources for the pigments. But I do think that thinning it with water or just using transparent medium, it makes it look warmer. The final one here is Carbon Black. So Mars Black contains iron, which is interesting because a magnet will actually stick to it. That's how much iron is in there. It's fairly black and it has a lot of tinting strength, so it'll be darker when you mix the same amount of white and black together than if you used Ivory Black. And Ivory Black is no longer made from elephant tusks. That's illegal. So what they use now are charred animal bones. So if you don't want to use animal products, you probably want to steer clear of Ivory Black. Carbon Black is an alternative, and it's made from the soot from burning natural gas. So it's a very pure source of carbon. In my test, Carbon Black had the highest tinting strength. It created the darkest gray out of these 3 here. I think the Ivory Black had the weakest tinting strength, and Mars Black was in the middle. All 3 of them seem to cover over these red lines fairly easily. The washes looked a little bit different. I think the Ivory Black creates a warmer tone than the other 2, and I think the Mars Black had a slight granulation to it. It's kind of like how watercolors granulate. Even though there's a variety of blacks to choose from, as you can see, there's a lot of similarities between them. I think the biggest difference is the tinting strength, and some of them are warm and cool depending on how you use them. Another option you have is to just mix your own black. You might want to check out my video, 11 ways to mix black. I have a link to it in the description below. Thanks for watching.